we're talking about a worship context. Why are we standing on that platform? Are we trying to gain attention, or are we trying to reflect or deflect attention to the Lord? Like, let's get back to bare basics here.
In this day and age, we over-sexualize our teenagers and young adults. Like, lipstick names are, like, provocative.
I remember the leaders getting all of us girls together and using the words, causing the guys here to stumble. And I was like, what is she talking about? Why would they be stumbling? I had no idea.
You literally had never heard of that terminology at that point.
No, I was like, what is she talking about?
Oh my God.
And
they're going to throw something in his pathway and he's going to hit it and he's going to stumble on
And we weren't allowed to wear spaghetti straps. And I was like,
that's the gateway right there.
And I just remember wrestling with that because it didn't feel right. Like that just didn't feel good.
All right. Well, welcome to the Seacoast Podcast, everyone. I'm excited about this summer series because we just get to focus a whole lot of time on one topic for each of these episodes. Well, a lot of y'all know who Tara is over here. You're kind of like, I'm going to say, and I've told you this before, but you're on the table of discussion for Mount Rushmore of Seacoast.
She's low-key famous.
Yeah. I mean, you may,
I don't know how I feel about that, but
there's a spot that's up for grabs, all right? But I know you're always going to be a pastor here, but are you officially on staff anymore? I don't even know, Tara.
I am like sort of part-time staff.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It's neat. I just think that it's crazy to think. I took time off Tuesday from all staff, so I missed the fact that I've been working at Seacoast for 20 years,
Right.
and you're one of those people where we have never been on the same team, but just a product of our longevity here. I feel like it's family.
That's right.
Amy, you are here, and I would say that you're just one of the closest, you and your family are one of the closest families to the Svensens, and so I wanted you here to be a contributor as someone that I don't have to sugarcoat anything that I say as far as this subject area because I'm a little intimidated. I'm outnumbered by you three. So, but just you and I, we do this a lot on podcasts, talk through some pretty delicate subjects. So we also have a comfortable chemistry. But I also think that obviously you guys are friends, but I think you and Tara would mesh well as well. And then for our listeners and maybe new viewers, you may be meeting Pricilla for the first time, but this is my wife. Your name comes up a lot on this podcast, so you better be listening to every single episode.
Oh my gosh, I'm defending myself. Great.
Keep him in line.
Here I am.
What's neat is Pricilla has been outside of the Seacoast staff world for so long. But you go so far back, you're further back than us that you guys remember each other from way back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And all of course. That, so, yeah.
Way back where now it's Half Moon Outfitters. I remember the first time I heard you sing for Seacoast West when that was a movie theater, and now it's Half Moon Outfitters.
Oh, that's right.
At South Windermere.
Long time ago.
Yes, that is old school.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make a lasting impression, not just because you're talented, but like you have a genuine like kindness. I just remember that.
So sweet. I'm so glad I came today.
Well, here's what's funny is Pastor Josh Surratt, I'm pretty sure he will not remember bringing this up to me, but I want to do a good job with my job. So obviously if the lead pastor mentions something that he prefers, I'm going to write it down or keep it on my radar somehow. So he mentioned to me, it's probably been a good year ago, that he would love to dip our toes in the water of some purity culture discussions and how women dress and causing men to stumble and those sorts of things. And so when I was putting this summer series together, I thought, man, maybe this would be an awesome opportunity because the series It's called Seacoast in the Summer. And so each episode is a subject in the summer. So this one will be bathing suits in the summer. So I started to dive into the subject area, and I'm like, we need 5 hours for this, y'all. So here's my plan. My plan is to set somewhat of a foundation, because I'm thinking about our listeners and our viewers. We're going to set a little bit of a foundation to where these questions may not feel super related to each other, but we're just laying a foundation, talking about a bunch of stuff that's kind of connected, and then it'll be more refined as we move along. Sound good? All right.
Sure.
Sweet. Well, we're gonna kick off with somewhat of I guess it'll sound goofy, but I've always wondered about this. I don't want to say I've brought it up with you too, but if let's say we were hanging out at someone's house. Let's say you and I are guests at somebody's house, and their teenage daughter comes downstairs and she's just wearing underwear. All right, so I'm going to look at you and I'm going to be like,
those eyes, like you just gave me huge eyes just now.
I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna be like, well, I probably won't. I'll probably keep it cool, but in the car, I'll be like, did you see what I saw? Oh my gosh, what was going on? However, if she came downstairs with a bathing suit on that was probably the same amount of material-ish as her underwear, I wouldn't have batted an eye, and I would have assumed she's probably going to get in the car and go to the neighborhood pool. Just be like, oh, that's a teenager in a bathing suit. So I've often wondered why we would see these two things as such a different thing, because I think it lends a little bit to the root of this issue, because what we're talking about is really the human body. So just bringing that up in general, why do we see underwear and bathing suits as so differently? Aren't they generally the same?
No.
Yeah, no.
No. I mean, you're wearing them for different purposes. They are different material. I mean, you have Victoria's Secret that does a whole runway show, and all of that is, overlying is that it's supposed to be sexual in nature. It's supposed to be, like flirty or lingerie or whatever. It's meant for that purpose and that arena. But when you're going to put on a bathing suit and you're going to go swimming, you're really not thinking about any of that. You're thinking about going to the pool or going to the beach or laying out to get some sun, or it's just not the same.
Yeah, I think it's all about context, right? So in my home, I have the freedom to wear my underwear if I want to, right? That's my home. But I would not walk out in public with my underwear on, because the context, in my opinion, is different. It would, in the same way that I wouldn't wear a sequined ball gown to preschool. It's just it's appropriate clothing for somewhere. It's just not appropriate clothing for, just it's all about context and location.
Like if it just has to do with context as far as where you're taking the clothes that you have on, then it doesn't have anything to do with the body anymore. It's just kind of the context of where you're at, and it almost becomes more of a style of clothing than it is.
There is style of clothing and type of clothing for the place, like ball gown versus bathing suit, but then it's also like, what kind of ball gown? You know what I mean? Like, is it a slit up to here? Is it like way down here? Like, what's your intention, your attitude, and what you're donning? You know what I mean? Because there can be somebody who looks super classy in something, and someone wears the exact same thing, and based on body, it may not be super classy anymore.
Well, I just think everything we're saying also just has to do with our culture. Like everything we're saying these are our cultural norms, is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel like how you're describing it is this black and white, well, it exactly covered her body exactly the same. It just has different material, But, I mean, it would...
Were you insinuating that I think in black and white?
Maybe a little. I mean, I do agree with you guys, but I also do think cultural norms. I mean, I feel like we've all been on mission trips and going to different places, but when I travel in different cultures and they have different cultural norms, I've been to places where women don't wear tops because that's inconvenient, because they're nursing a child and they don't need to be messing with that all the time, where we would be like, oh my gosh, we have to cover up. We can't show people. I mean, it's like a whole thing to discuss. Or if you're in a European country, you can breastfeed and it's not a big deal and no one's going to shame you for it. So I think there's just cultural norms that are involved too. But yeah, I feel like sometimes Gwenny and I have had a lot of discussion about some of this because of
be careful. I have strict policies when it comes to talking about my children on this podcast, and that's one of them. So
what? You're just making a weird joke. Okay, so
I was like, I've heard you talk about your kids. What a weirdo.
What's he saying? But I mean, she's in high school right now, and I love fashion, and I love seeing how our kids express themselves. I mean, when she was younger, we let her wear Rosa's dance recital dress everywhere she went. I didn't care about context. I'm like, yes, we're going to Costco and you're wearing an amazing dance recital dress. It's totally fine because this is her personality. So I kind of love seeing how our kids express themselves. And then they're interested in fashion. And then as they're maturing, I'm like, oh, now she is not just a little girl wearing a cute little whatever. Now it looks a little different. And we have been talking about context, and it's challenged me a lot because I do kind of like to push the boundaries. I'm like, why do women have to do that and men don't really have to think about it or whatever? And sometimes I'm like, oh, Gwenny, you're pushing it just a little. And then she's like, why? And then she's being mean. And I'm like, dang it. So, I don't know.
Cool. I want to remind y'all, too, that a lot of our listeners were raised in Christian cultures. And some of our listeners were not. And so some of this you may be like, this is just not clicking. But what I want to introduce to some of those listeners that may be a little confused of why or what we're talking about, it's something that would require a whole series of episodes, but basically purity culture. Not only was I taught in purity culture and I'm very much so giving a minimalist depiction, but not only was I supposed to bounce my eyes and not gaze at a woman, to where my thoughts are maybe going in inappropriate directions. Instead of gazing, I turn my head. Not only am I supposed to be doing that, but you guys are also supposed to be dressing in a way where it's easy for me to do that. You know what I'm saying? Yes. That's a very reduction way of saying that. So a question I wanted to ask you guys, if we're holding to that at all, and I want to hear as to whether or not you guys vibe with that. But I've definitely heard in groups of women, because obviously Pricilla, I've got women close friends, and I know Priscilla's close friends. I've heard you and our daughter say stuff like this, and it'll sound kind of funny me saying it, but you try on some jeans and you're like, oh, your butt looks cute in that. But aren't we talking about physical attraction and the body being appealing to the eyes?
I do absolutely get purity culture, and I get where it was like you have to wear a one-piece bathing suit if you're going to go on a youth trip or whatever, or you have to wear, the awful t-shirt over your bathing suit. And, I do get all of that, and I understand that there's still a little bit of that kind of laying around still. But I think women, I don't think this is like crazy to say. I think women are more judging other women than men are judging women on what they're wearing. I think guys, it's either like nice or not nice. You know what I mean? Like they'll either notice or they're absolutely not going to notice at all. But I feel like other women are going to be like, oh, your butt is cute, or oh my gosh, I love the ruffle, or, like we're going to notice a lot more than men are, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is 100% okay to look good in your clothes and to feel good in your clothes. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't want that, right? Mm-hmm. I think that is 100% okay. I didn't grow up in a very strict purity culture or anything like that, so I don't really necessarily have that framework.
Yeah.
Or to know,
So you're one of the people sitting there thinking, what in the world is Joey talking about right now?
I'm certainly aware, but that's definitely nothing that I grew up in. So yeah.
I remember my first exposure to something like that felt shocking. I did Campus Crusade one summer, and we stayed at the SMU campus in Dallas. And so there were guys and girls staying, but like girls had a floor, guys had a floor, girls. And I think that this sounds like I'm exaggerating, it was like 100 degrees every day. Like they actually had record highs of how hot it was there that year. And it was so hot. And I worked at the YMCA and I taught swimming lessons. So we would teach and then we would do like a whole bunch of learning together and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I remember the leaders getting all of us girls together and using the words causing the guys here to stumble. And I was like, what is she talking about? Why would they be I had no idea.
You literally had never heard of that terminology at that point.
No, I was like, what is she talking about?
Oh my God.
And
they're going to throw something in his pathway and he's going to hit it. He's going to stumble on
And we weren't allowed to wear spaghetti straps. And I
That's
was
the gateway right there.
Yeah.
Cover that up.
I remember, and I was so eager to, for lack of better words, I just really wanted to learn as much as I could. It was like kind of newer and owning my faith. I grew up in a Christian home, but I wanted to, I was owning it for myself at that time. And so I felt like I was just taking everything in and wanting to do well. And I just remember wrestling with that because it didn't feel right. Like that just didn't feel good to me. I was like, I don't know why we're at the beach and the guys get to not wear shirts and we have to cover up. Like, that's not right. And it's 100 degrees. I'm sorry, but it's like really hot out. And I have to make sure I'm wearing a t-shirt. I just felt like that was my first introduction to purity culture. And I grew up in a Christian home, but I don't ever remember people teaching me making sure girls don't cause boys to stumble. Like it's put all on the girl to make sure they take care of the men. That was my first exposure to that.
So you do feel like you have a good grasp on purity culture, what it means, what they're trying to teach, or maybe a little foreign to it?
I mean, I think so. Like I think I understand what the concept behind it. I don't know that I necessarily agree with all of it. But I think I understand the basic concept of it for sure.
What I was thinking about reflecting on my childhood and writing some notes down about this episode is, so we would, in youth group, for instance, if we went on a trip, we wouldn't swim at the hotel pool in mixed company. The boys had their turn in the pool, girls had their turn in the pool. So what I realize, what are y'all shocked about that?
I didn't even know that.
Are you serious?
This long, I had no idea that's what.
Oh, yeah.
That is life. Like, I'm like, yes, this happened.
Yeah. So here's what I realize now as a 47-year-old, what I think that helped teach me, and not in a good way, is, hey, and this is where we're all going to balance each other in this conversation, because I also share, I'm sure, some of the similar ethics as you guys, but I think I was being basically taught that these feelings that you're feeling right now and all of these changes that your body is going through, it's all so bad that we've got to keep you away from that species of humans. Like, you can't even be in the same pool because of all of that stuff that you're feeling. And so when I would, let's say, struggle in areas of lust in a way that adults were saying you really shouldn't struggle in that way, then I'm feeling even worse, because not only am I, I'm not swimming in a pool with them, but I'm having lustful thoughts, so that's even more problematic. So I feel like I was taught that some of the normal stuff that's happening to my body is something that needs to be, super afraid of. And you said you came from the same sort of upbringing.
Yeah,
as far
for
as
sure. Yeah, that
keep
it was
separated into the pools.
None of that. Like, no. Like, I was joking when I was like, spaghetti straps, like, that's the gateway. Like, better not do that. Where's your sweater? What's going on? Like, I went to church camp every single summer when this close to Charleston. And I mean, it was like you would not pack that to go to camp. Like if your parents were behind you, if you even had a spaghetti strap tank top or something, like I was not going to camp. Like that's a big hard pass. Like why would you even pack that? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like that's not ladylike. Put that up. And I always felt like it's interesting to hear your perspective. I always felt like the women carried the brunt of like the guilt and the shame and like cover up and it's your fault. But even like just to hear your point of view right now, I feel a little bit better that boys
that I had
felt
pain
bad.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel a little bit better that I was in pain.
Yeah.
I feel better that you were also suffering in this purity culture.
I was wallowing in guilt, afraid of hell. Amy's like, oh, sweet.
Good.
Check that box. But you know, like it stings because I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women a lot of times. Like it's a poor mentality. Like, well, you're just causing other people to stumble, or you deserved that, come on, or you deserved that, situation. You were asking for it. Like, you were dressed that way. Like, that's ridiculous. And you shouldn't be treated a certain way based on your clothing. Like, that's crazy. But I do feel a little bit better knowing that you guys were at least held accountable for something. Because on my side of it was like, well, shameful you. Like you're going to mess everybody up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't help what they think or do or say or see.
Yeah. That's so interesting, Amy. And I think we really are just dipping the toe in the water of purity culture. I think we'll talk a lot about it because you're saying that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That was very painful. Like that was a very painful part of my upbringing and adolescence was what purity culture did, just because I felt so bad by what I think a lot of what now I would say, hey, there was some scientific stuff going on. Joey's turning into an adult and there's some things that come along that territory that's not sin, for instance.
Yeah.
Well, and you can say we can talk about that later, but you used to teach. Did you have to enforce dress code when you taught? I mean, I work at a school right now, and so dress code is a thing too. I wish that teachers didn't have to enforce it. It's like one more thing for them to deal with.
Well, I will say yes, and it made me very uncomfortable because all of my teaching years, I was a much younger guy in my early 20s. And so some of those early years, I was literally 10 years older than the students. And so if I ever had to call a girl out on dress code, it made me feel like creepy, like I noticed.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a known thing. It's pretty much like men don't dress code teenage girls. They just won't. They don't even want to put themselves in the area of doing that because it will feel like that. It'll make them feel creepy.
And I think it puts them in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It really puts them in a bad spot. Yeah. Like for a parent to make an accusation or the kid to make an accusation, like the same things like if you have someone babysitting your kids, I know our kids are too old for that now, but like when I was a babysitter or when someone was babysitting my kids, my husband is not taking you home. Like that's cute and everything. He's not doing it. I'll take you home because I'm not about to, even if you're in the back seat, for this babysitter girl to say some kind of accusation and jack up people's lives. I'm not doing it. So I would tell a male teacher, like, just don't even. I mean, unless you have some boys in your class that look jacked up, and then absolutely you can call the boys out.
Do you want to hear like a really funny, very quick story? Is when he's teaching, I came to visit, and I was coming to their school dance, and I show up, and Joey told me to change.
Told you to?
He told me my dress was too short. I was like, I started laughing. I was like, oh, and he was like, no, I'm serious. I was like, what?
It's funny. We barely knew each other now. I mean, looking back on over 20 years of marriage, I look back, I'm like, I barely knew her, but I was comfortable enough to say, your skirt is too short.
So let me ask you, why in that moment did you feel like that you needed to ask her to?
Honestly, from a professional standpoint, because I taught at that school and I felt like, I mean, I'm a rule follower now. Talk about back then was multiplied by 10. So
and
it's
I'm not. So I was like, what is the problem?
I'm showing up to the school with an illegal. You know?
And I looked fine. It was not. I was
She's
not.
wearing illegal clothes.
But it was context for you, right? So going back to that, right?
Yeah.
So like it would have been appropriate in your mind, it would have been appropriate maybe for you guys for you to look cute in whatever you're wearing at a dinner out, but maybe not in a professional setting.
Yeah.
But it was a school dance. I bet it was, okay, don't make fun of me. I feel like Joey was probably like, it's above the
What's funny is I can find a picture so we can actually
I can't wait because it's
experiment.
like not going to be this short.
Dick used to think, so my husband used to do a lot of the driving back and forth with our girls to the dance studio, and Rosa danced with Audrey, but my oldest was there like in the lobby all the time, so they would talk all the time in between classes. But my husband, Dick, thought for the longest time that she was the babysitter.
Yeah.
He was like, she just dressed young. Like, I don't know. And it was never that it was inappropriate. He just was
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
And then the dad walks in and he's like, whoa, he's got a young girlfriend.
But it was he's like, that girl that has like the backpack? She's like the babysitter. I was like, I have no idea you're talking about. And Audrey's like, me either. And like Abby's like, there's no babysitter. Who are you talking about?
It's probably just the backpack. I just love a backpack.
All right. So we're going to take a sharp turn because I just want to, I feel like I'm going to ask you the centerpiece question of our conversation. Then we're just going to see how much else we can fit in. But Tara, this first question, I'm not thinking worship because I do want to get into the whole having people up front in front of other people and we're up there looking, and so what they're wearing we're going to see, and just kind of how you process that from a leader standpoint. But I want to ask y'all on a personal day-to-day, do you ever think to yourself, I may need to dress accordingly in a way of not causing either attention from people looking at your body in a lustful way, so just attention that you don't want, or someone actually having some inappropriate thoughts, like you don't want to draw sexual attention. Like in your day-to-day, how often are you thinking that?
I'm absolutely conscious about what I put on. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's not the part B. It's not because I don't want men to stumble, or because it's not that. I'm conscious about what I put on because in my opinion, I feel like that I'm called to, I'm called to honor the Lord with my body. And in doing so, I don't want to draw any unnecessary attention to myself. I'm an introvert by nature. I don't like attention, period. But I definitely don't want attention because of something that I have on. That does not mean that I don't care about clothes. That does not mean that I don't care about fashion, that I don't want to look cute, that it doesn't mean any of that. It just means I am conscious about what I'm putting on. And if I put something on and I sort of do the mirror check, like, how are we looking today? In my mind, what I want to say in my mind is, you look cute. What I don't want to sort of hear in my mind is, that shirt's a little tight, or that if there's anything to me that stands out like that, those jeans are a little bit tight because I put on an extra 5 pounds or whatever. Like, anything that causes a pause, I'll change it. That's just my personal opinion. But it's not because, it's because, men are terrible and they are going to stumble if they see me. It's not that at all. Mm-hmm. It's just, I really want to make sure that whatever I've got on in my mind is honoring to the Lord. Mm-hmm.
At all times, or do you especially feel that way when you know you're going to be on stage in front of a bunch of people?
That is magnified times 5,000.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And
I couldn't imagine the pressure of that, especially in a worship setting, a church setting. There's just all sorts of ideas and opinions, and
for sure.
I don't know. I just feel like that would be a lot to balance.
Let's put the pause on that because I want to get a lot into that. How about you, as far as thinking through?
I never, ever think about men when I'm putting my clothes on. Ever. Mm-mm.
One man.
Only when I wear a headband.
You're like,
Hopefully.
never.
Maybe. I know. I didn't mean to make that sound like I do not care at all what you think. No, I mean, actually, if I knew that you like really detested something, you're like, oh, that's like, but if I think it's like really fashionable too, I'm like, this will grow on you. These are cool. Do you know what I like really love? I'm very, very visually oriented. I'm a visual learner and I like beautiful things. And so I like unique. I love things that are cultural. So, I mean, you know how they'd like to do that capsule wardrobe or whatever? I would die doing that. That's so boring. I could never do that. And then also, or laying out your clothes for the week, could never do that because I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have a certain mood and a feeling and whatever. So,
but that's like your superpower, though. That's like God has put that type of creativity in you that is like a superpower. And
I don't know about superpower.
I do. I've always admired your sense of fashion. I really have.
Thank you, but I feel like I'm very.
You can't argue against Mount Rushmore. Seacoast.
This is true. Oh
Good Lord. We're talking Greg, Josh.
You have an incredible sense of style, and it's all your own, and it's unduplicated.
Yes.
It would be the same thing on someone else would just be like nonsense. Like you'd be like,
yes.
Did you
I can't sing, I can't draw, but I can get dressed.
Yeah. So good for you. Good for you and your clothes.
Yes.
No, but you are like really well put together. Even like, look how cute your ring is. It's just fun, you know?
Thanks. This feels a little weird. No, but I don't feel like, to me, maybe it is a sense of expression though. Like for some, like even what you just described, I mean, it doesn't mean I don't care about honoring the Lord, but I don't even think, does this honor the Lord when I'm wearing it? I'm like, my mind's in a totally different place. Like, how am I feeling today? What's my vibe? Now, I do remember, because sometimes I don't even think about that, I used to, when we were leading campus and stuff, I'd look at Joey and I'm like, is this okay? Because sometimes I'm like, am
Oblivious.
What?
Oblivious.
Yeah, maybe sometimes I'd be a little oblivious.
But you're at least asking the question.
Yeah, I'm asking. And I will say that was a little hard because sometimes I do think some of those rules are dumb and I think they're just cultural. But also, it's sort of like, I also really care about people and community and that sort of thing. And all of us land somewhere different. So I don't need to force everyone to land right where I do, you know? And so, but I certainly don't agree with shaming anyone for if they don't land where I land, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Is there such thing as inappropriate attire?
There is.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot of it. I mean.
All right. Well, I tell you what. That's the direction that I want to go in. So if you want to get into anything more personal first, by all means. But then I want to go in this direction as far as what you think. Like, tell me what you think is inappropriate. And I think a great place to start would probably be with your daughters and how you handled on the motherhood front.
Yeah. So I have 2 daughters, 2 girls. One's 26 and one is 18. And they are actually handled totally different because there is that gap and like you learn. And also you get a little bit looser with the second one. But my oldest, we pretty much only ever went to like a family pool to hang out. We didn't really go to the beach that much, or we were mostly around family. And I cannot stand for people to wear like a string bikini to a family function. I'm just like, this is unnecessary. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want uncles or weirdos or whatever. I just don't want people seeing you dressed like that. So with my oldest, she could do a tankini, and that was as keeny as we got. You know what I mean? And then when she got older, and I mean, she also was like in the 2000s, and I feel like, you know, it came back like the longer shorts and like weird trends. So I feel like she was very modest just by nature, where my youngest, my oldest said she's very thin, and my younger one is more, I mean, she's not as heavy as me, but she's not as thin as Abby. But my oldest was like, you know, you kind of freaked me out about body image. Like, I felt like it was always being pushed to be really modest. And so then I felt like I had to keep my body covered. It was like a bad thing. So then I'm like, great, I ruined your whole life, not thinking I was making you think it was a bad thing, but thinking it was like an honorable thing. Then when the youngest comes around, she's like, I am not wearing a one piece because I am a little bit bigger and it makes me look stupid and it makes me stand out in front of everyone. And if people don't like that I'm a little bit thicker, that's on them. And so she would wear a two piece, and just the way she carried herself was enough for me to be like, okay, this is okay, you know? But she likes to wear things a little bit more snug than I would like for her. And, you know, there's times where I'll be like, you know, if you went up one size, that would be so cute. And she's like, well, I'm not. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's fine too. You have to be careful when you're raising girls. Like,
she's graduated, by the way.
Oh, yeah. She's a full-blown, like, she's buying her own clothes and all that stuff. So, I mean.
She's a baby adult.
Yeah.
She better not say whatever no to Amy as a minor.
Oh, no. I mean, and even now, like, you don't tell me no. Like, you live under my roof, crazy.
So what is inappropriate and why? Like, what is even inappropriate about attire? Like,
I do not love. So a friend of mine is a teacher at a school around here, and the school was like babies to like high school, and she was filming her girls she has triplets and they're seniors, so she was filming like them walking, and I'm like looking at these kids that are walking in the ceremony, and I'm like, y'all have like 3 ounces of clothes on, like this is. Like, why is your dress this short, and why is it cut so low, and why are you wearing like a halter top to school? Like, I don't know, like that kind of stuff bothers me. I don't like that.
And I mean, these may sound like crazy questions when trying to get to the root. Too revealing,
yeah,
and like, too revealing, thus drawing attention.
I think that in this day and age, we over-sexualize our teenagers and young adults. And I mean, like we've talked about this before, like lipstick names are like provocative. And,
oh yeah,
you know,
you told me about that, and I was like, I didn't.
Bananas, like it is.
Don't say them on.
No, I'm not going to say them on here. Research for yourself. Run to Ulta. But like, I mean, I just don't. I just think, and I mean, I am heavier, so for me, like, there isn't anything inappropriate in my closet. Like, I don't have that opportunity. So yay for the people who do. Like, I'm never going to put something on and it's too tight because everything's one size too big. You know, I'm just conscientious of how I look. And I try not to like push that on other people. But even if I see someone who's super tiny, I don't want to see all of you. Like, you don't need to wear that because, yeah, some men are going to look at you and over-sexualize you, and you are stinking 17, Presh. Like, I don't know, just like...
So inappropriate because it's drawing attention and it's sexualized attention. So, of course, we don't want a 16-year-old acquiring attention in that manner. So inappropriate because of the sexuality part of it, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. Okay. Unless y'all prove me wrong.
No. Well, let's take the ball further down the field and go to the worship here at Seacoast, and just for some entertainment aspect, let's say. I don't know how y'all do the tryouts and stuff, but let's just everybody imagine American Idol, and I'm sure it looks like that. But
it looks just like that.
Right. Who's our Simon? But they walk out there and they're ready to sing, so you can see what kind of skills they have, and they just have the most revealing NFL football cheerleading team sort of attire, and you're eventually going to have a sit down with them, or I don't know if it's any sort of writing, but what will you tell that young lady eventually that, hey, when you lead worship here on Sundays, we got to find a different, we've got to adjust your attire here. What would be your reasons for that?
Right. So for me, it always goes back to the why. Like it, and this is strictly, we're talking about a worship context, right? So the why is, why are we standing on that platform? Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it to draw attention to ourselves in any way?
Mm-hmm.
From what's coming out of our mouths, from what we're wearing, from what we're singing? Are we trying to gain attention, or are we trying to reflect or deflect attention to the Lord? Like, let's get back to bare basics here. It has zero to do with, clothes, talent, lights and sound, whatever. It has everything to do with why are we standing on that platform? And if we can get that right, then everything else will work itself out, right? It's seek first the kingdom, and everything else will be added. So if we can, in our minds as a worship team, get right, like, hey, we are here to honor and glorify the Lord. We are here to create as much as possible, a distraction-free environment so that people who are far from Jesus can know him. That's why we're there. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, we have to wear clothes. It's like
you can't be naked.
You cannot be naked on a platform. So yeah, I mean, that would be the conversation. So the conversation is, let's talk about why you want to join the team. Let's talk about where your heart is. Like, are you here because you think this is a place to launch your career, or are you here because your heart's for the Lord? We're having those kinds of conversations long before we're ever having conversations about, and your skirt is too short.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, this isn't a weird question. I'm wearing kind of a wild shirt.
Yeah.
Would this be kind of wild because it's kind of distracting?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Would you be like, Pricilla, we don't need, why do you need to wear such a loud shirt?
It's attention grabbing.
Is it? I don't think it's
See, I don't think it is.
Well, if it was.
Well, you know what? Okay, so
nobody likes your shirt.
This actually really is interesting to me.
Everybody likes her
Everybody
shirt.
loves her shirt. I'm actually going to borrow it when we're done.
You can totally borrow it. So, for instance, Easter, we're here, and I remember I again, am so visually oriented, and I actually don't know everyone that was on stage. We were in overflow because it was packed out here. And there was one particular person who just wore jeans and I think like a white shirt, and it looked nice, but it looked kind of trendy, but not over trendy. Like maybe there's a lot going on here. I was thinking about this myself because of how easily distracted I am also. I'm very easily distracted. I don't think we zoom in on people's faces anymore when you guys are singing stuff. And I love that because that was incredibly distracting to me. I used to have to just close my eyes and not look because I was like, I'm just paying attention to way too many things besides just worshiping. And so it feels easier for me. It feels more peaceful. And so I was thinking, if I dress like how I dress, that would be a distraction.
Interesting.
Not because I'm inappropriate, but because it's just like there's a lot going on. There's weird birds on my shirt, and I have bright yellow Kill Bill shoes. I mean, it's just like too much. So for me, I would have been like, where'd she get those shoes? And I would not be paying attention. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
But then I'm like, that's kind of sad to not feel like you could just be yourself up there too. So I don't know. I feel like that.
But see, I think when I see you dressed, it isn't, again, like I know you and I feel like you're very easy to know. So I feel like you are into community and you're very welcoming to people. And so like when y'all were the leaders at James Island, I mean, nobody was intimidated to come up to you and be like, hi, I'm Susie visiting for the first time. You know what I mean? So even though like it's just your vibe and your aura. So I think like, I don't even know if those are churchy words. I don't mean that in a non-churchy way. Your vibe and your aura are yours. You know what I mean? And so like, I just think wherever you are, it's not necessarily distracting because it's just Pricilla.
No, this is good. So I'm not sounding, this could sound judgy. I mean, I don't mean it judgy. I'm distracted if someone's wearing a hat.
Sure.
It's like really trendy and I'm like, the hat. But that's me.
That's
like that's actually kind of, I think it's probably ADHD. Honestly, it probably is. So I feel.
You can join me later on the mental health awareness series. We're not doing one this year, so you have to.
Oh my gosh. So learned so much about myself.
I do understand what you're saying though, because you want people to be able to express, who they are in creativity, right?
Yeah.
The other side of that is we're trying to create a as much as we can, a distraction-free type.
Because that's what you're using is distraction-free.
Yes, environment. Yes.
And I'm like, I love how you said that because if I'm on a spectrum, I'm one of the most easily distracted. I'm always looking at the numbers that's flashing to the right. I'm like, whose kid has to go out? I'm like, blah, blah, like all over the place. They're wearing a hat. Why are they wearing a hat? Like, it's just like crazy. And so I think some of that stuff can be kind of a distraction also.
So for some of that, we've kind of built in some, I don't want to say rules, guardrails, things, where it's like, probably shouldn't wear things that are like sparkly or sequiny.
Yeah.
Just because those just naturally draw attention. I don't care where you are.
We're not putting on a Taylor Swift show.
We're not. Exactly.
Yes.
Right. So, and the only reason that we would say anything about anything with pattern on a top is actually more for camera than it is for the people in the room.
Yeah.
Like we very often will tell our speaking team, not to wear anything with small stripes or anything that has too much of a pattern, just simply because on the camera it goes all weird.
Oh, that makes sense.
For the online experience, it kind of looks like they're moving and it's weird. So we just say, wear solid colors.
Yeah.
Or, that kind of thing.
So would you say that you do not want, you want distraction free, and so don't wear sparkles because that's visually distracting. Don't wear a low cut shirt because that's sexually distracting. Is that fair to say it like that?
I mean, I would say that's fair, but I would also say it's the, what's the reason that you're wearing a low cut shirt? If you're wearing a low cut shirt to draw attention to yourself, that's a problem, and then that's more of a heart issue than anything in the context of worship.
Yeah. Do you have outfits that you would wear out in public, but not wear on stage because of what we're talking about? Not because of like, well, Joey, that would just be too fancy. I would wear that to, a prom.
Right.
But because of this subject area, are there things that you would wear out in public on a Friday night with Greg, but you wouldn't wear on Sunday morning on stage?
I mean, yes, but probably not the things that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Like, we don't wear anything that's sleeveless on the platform. It's not that, like, my shoulders are,
super sexy.
Like some, like whatever.
Cause men to stubble left and right.
It's not that. It's that nobody wants to see pit worship. That's why we don't wear, I don't care if you're a guy or a girl. Nobody wants to see your pits.
We don't.
When you raise your arm, ain't nobody looking at pits. So
that would be way
So
distracting.
the answer to that is probably yes, but maybe not for, not for the reasons that you might be thinking, so. Yes, question mark?
Yeah.
But if you see me out on a date with Greg and you see me on the platform, I'm pretty much going to have on the same thing. I'm, I don't have a wildly separate wardrobe life for my regular life and for when I'm standing on a platform. Typically on platform, I will 99% of the time I'm in layers, a jacket of some sort over my top. I'm really rarely just in a shirt. I usually am in layers. Number one, because it's always so crazy cold.
In and out, like hot outside,
yes,
cold. Yeah.
Yes, but that's also something that we encourage, specifically the gals on the team, just to be in layers. And then typically I'm going to be wearing something on the platform that will, I'm not usually in a tunic, but I'm definitely in things that come below, like hit me hip length.
Is that a policy?
It is a suggestion, and here's the reason behind it. Most of the people on the, on the front, the singers, most of them are female. Most of the musicians, are male. So you have, let's just for the sake of the conversation say, a line of females and then a line of males. If the line of males behind us that are playing instruments, if their goal is to set their heart on the Lord, to bring their offering, to, set their intention to worship the Lord for the morning. And they're having to kind of dodge their view because my rear end is in super tight jeans. That's a problem, in my opinion, that I can help mitigate for those guys. Mm-hmm. It's not that, oh, they're stumbling, it's their fault, or, oh, I could wear, it's just, hey guys, we have a common goal here. The goal here is let's seek Jesus for the morning. Let's eliminate all distractions. This is not necessary. Let's just make this something we don't even have to think about. So yeah, I'm going to be wearing things that are a bit longer that cover up my rear end because I don't want my friends having to fight through that, And again, I'm a 50-year-old woman. Most of these guys are, 20-something.
You're pretty hot.
I'm not saying that they're interested in the 50-year-old women. I'm just saying let's just alleviate that completely so that it's a non-issue.
And that's a really good point. Sidetrack, when you said you wore longer shirts, I thought you were going to say so that when you do raise up your arms, it's not your shirt's up to here, because that's always uncomfortable.
There's absolutely that too. I mean, I full on, every time I buy a shirt, I full on do the worship test in the, in the store. I'm like, does it pass? Is it coming up? Because I'm a very demonstrative worshiper. I love to move. And I want to make sure that whatever I'm in, and this is what I encourage the ladies on the team, whatever you're in, I want you to have the full freedom to move on that platform and to honor God in whatever way that you feel comfortable. But we also don't want your chest falling out as you're doing it, or your, whatever. Mm-hmm. So.
And also to be elevated, you don't want a short skirt because then you can.
Most of the platforms are elevated.
Up a skirt, you know what I mean?
We don't want to give that front row a show that they didn't ask for.
No.
but you made a really good point too, our age. So we're in this age group where we don't have what I would joke around about and say going out clothes and work clothes.
Right.
That's a 20-year-old's game. Maybe 30, good for you. But I'm not going to have work clothes and going out clothes. That's just not a thing anymore. I'm married, I have 2 kids, they're grown up. I'm not going to hit the club. That's not a thing. But I mean, it's not that far away of me to remember having going out clothes and having school clothes, work clothes, whatever. So, again, with context, if you're going to hit the club, that is where you wear the short skirt. You're not going to maybe prance around at church Sunday morning in it, but it's also context with age and where you are, and also huge point that you made me think of is what's the reason behind what you're wearing? Are you trying purposefully to get a guy's attention or not? Because if you're in your going out club days, it might be to get another person's attention. You know what I mean? That's why you're wearing that.
I just feel sometimes you're going to get a guy's attention. It doesn't matter what you're wearing.
That happens to me a lot, even now.
So, well, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes that does make me feel a little uncomfortable. Are you I don't know that question, but maybe it's because it doesn't cross my mind. But also, I'm in my mid 40s and I have clothes that I wear differently on the weekends, and I'm not going to wear them at school. I mean, I have shirts that are shorter. They're not crazy cropped, but I might wear a high-waisted jean and a crop shirt. I'm not going to wear that at school.
But that's also school, so that's a little bit different too.
Or even church. I don't always wear that at church either. And I also think, why not? I should be able to, but I also don't want that attention because some people are going to think that's inappropriate, and I just don't even want to mess with that. But if I'm just going downtown and walking around with my friends, or I still love to go dancing, it's been a long time since I have, I'm going to go out dancing, I have going out clothes. Not I'm 20, but it's fun. We go out and have fun together. I'm certainly not wearing that at church or school. Doesn't mean I'm wearing something.
But it's not the same kind of going out clothes as when you're 20 and you're going to the club, and you know what I mean? That's a little bit different. If you're going out to hang out with your friends when you're older, even if you're wearing something that maybe isn't work appropriate, it's still not going to be the same as when you were clubbing. I mean, I can't imagine. But maybe I'm crazy.
I don't remember having like crazy clubbing clothes in my 20s, though. Just like fun going out clothes or something. I don't know.
All right.
According to Joey, I had really messed up clothes. I had to change before I went to a school dance.
You brought your clubbing clothes to the school dance.
Exactly. I did not.
All right. Just a few wrap-up questions here. Do y'all think that we've progressed well with how women's bodies are handled culturally? And I guess what I mean by that is basically the amount of skin and how and where it's showing. But on social media, on TV and movies, just as a society, are we getting better with women being more liberated, or are we getting worse with them being more objectified? And when you answer, I want it in 5 seconds.
Well, when I think of some things, like on the way over here, I was thinking like, gosh, maybe I'm just ridiculous because, we watch the Brady Bunch and I'd always be like, Cindy's dresses are really short. Do you know what I mean?
Like, Cindy's dresses.
Like, I was always so uncomfortable, even as a kid, like, how is she sitting down in that? Like, that is impossible. But that was the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen my mom, pictures of her when she was a kid, and I'm like, you were wearing a halter top to school? Like, that's not okay, but whatever. And I mean, that was just kind of like the style. And so again, like some things now are, maybe that's just me being crazy, being like, it's weird for it to be that short again, like for things to be that short. Maybe I'm just crazy. But I don't know. I think we still, body image is still a really big deal. And it's not, I don't think it's great nowadays. I mean, we were literally having a discussion the other night where my daughter was like, poor Lizzo and Meghan Trainor, like they went to lose weight and then people were like booing them because, well, you celebrated being a big girl. So, why are you losing weight? And she's like, so why do you have to be one or be the other? Why can't you just be you? I mean, I just think body image is probably always going to be, as long as there's more than two types of bodies, there's going to be issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I have seen, at least personally, how I will see things happen in media. There's certain things that young singers or actresses will do on stage, and people will talk about it as if it was like a liberating, man, women have come such a long way. Look, she's just rocking it and all that. And a lot of the things that we are celebrating, for me, and I feel like an old fuddy-duddy when I say this, it feels like we're celebrating something that is undoing some of the progress we've made with not wanting to objectify women in the first place. Like I know that it's been such a long time, I don't even remember who it was, but there was a Super Bowl show recently, and I usually don't like the Super Bowl halftime shows anyway, but people were going on and on and on about this, and it was either how awesome women are and women power, or I cannot believe they did that on TV. What's this world coming to? It really does seem like we're in such a divisive place, even with that, where people see it as making great strides or major setbacks. What do you think here as we're wrapping this up?
I think, I don't know, I'd have to sort of dig into the history of all of it. But to me, in my opinion, we are people who don't know who have forgotten how to blush. It's like nothing is off limits and nothing is shocking anymore as far as like how much skin should be shown. And in my opinion, that's really tragic. And I don't know where in history that started to break down, but I do feel like that we are a culture who it's like we don't blush at anything. Nothing makes us go, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
And that's sad to me.
So would you say very little sense of modesty? Do you like that word?
I would, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like, is it with anything that sometimes is something really unhealthy, sometimes it takes a big movement to shift it, and it might go way over this way before it finds its way in here. And sometimes I feel like that's what's happened a little bit to me. Because, for instance, if you go to Japan, their style is amazing, and their stuff is, like the women have this oversized everything and tailored at the same exact time. And it's hard to find that here. Like, it's so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, if you go to Japan, it is so fun to look at women's clothing in Japan. It's amazing. And it feels refreshing, but it feels like art almost.
Yes.
And that, I think people do really like that. And so it's almost like we need to liberate women because they don't need to be walking around protecting men. Oh, they saw my shoulder. Right. They saw my ankle. It used to be ankles and then shoulder straps. And I'm like, who cares? And so, but also just class too. You know, I also, but sometimes people are also just finding their way. So maybe we need to have sometimes some of us had really rebellious teenage years to like get it out of our system or whatever. I'm not saying that was me, but I don't want that for my kids either if they're listening. I don't want that. But I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of finding yourself, or there was some liberation needed. And I think sometimes when it goes the other way, maybe we can also be like, I'm tired of that. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes if you just eat a ton of crappy food and then you're like, this is not satisfying. It doesn't feel good anymore, you know, and then you're finding your balance. So I don't know. I think grace in both ends. I think it's funny because I can be really not any patience if people are judgy about a girl wearing, like being too revealing for you, not you, but like anybody. But then I can be like, they're too distracting on the stage for me to worship. You know, like, come on, like, what am I saying? I'm like, let her wear midriff and low cut, but do not wear a hat on stage. Like, what am I talking about? That's so silly. So I just think giving grace to each other for just figuring it out too. Because really it is also our bodies. I mean, it's also interesting. It used to be really in style to be really, really tiny, and now it's better to have curves. Or like, I used to be really embarrassed as a teenager because I had no chest and a big booty. And I mean, now that's like, it's good to have a big booty. And I'm like, I was teased about it. Like, I hated it. And so it always just keeps changing too. I don't know. I think it's hard for girls to keep up with that.
Yeah. Well, here's what we'll do is I would love for all of y'all 40 plus, and you said you're 50 plus.
Just turned 50.
Gracious.
You're gorgeous.
Why don't y'all close with a dual purpose here? Tell our listeners, and I'm sorry I'm throwing this at you at last minute, but tell our listeners about how well you're doing in this current season from a self-image standpoint. Like, y'all are all matured, and like I said, y'all have been doing life for a long time. And so, you know, with some of our younger listeners, how would you mentor them? And then I would love for y'all to share how you're doing in that area, and then any sort of advice that you would want to offer listeners.
Well,
how are you doing with your body image, Pricilla?
I feel like fine. I feel so busy. I don't feel like sometimes if I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like 5 hairs on my chin. Why didn't anyone tell me I had witch hairs on my chin? Like, I don't even look close enough sometimes. You know, I think I'm kind of in a busy season. I listened to a podcast where she had an orthopedic surgeon on, and one of the quotes that she said is, when men are aging, we call it distinguished. But for women, there's so many products out there called anti-aging, like it's a problem we're trying to solve. And it was so freeing to me because I feel like at my age right now, I'm wrestling with, almost everybody I know does some type of Botox, does a little bit of whatever, or hair extensions or whatever, because my hair's thinned out a lot since I've gotten older. And I don't know. And there's certain things that I am going to do. I'm going to keep coloring my hair while I have these grays coming in. I'm not ready to give that up yet. But I want to be able to embrace the aging and not have it be a problem I'm trying to solve. And I feel like that's something that maybe is a little harder for me. So you're talking about body. I think I'm having more of like it happened in my 30s and I looked at my hands and I was like, whose hands are those? Those like look like my mom's hands, not mine. This is weird. You know, like.
That's what your mom's hands looked like when she was your age.
Yeah, it's weird. Like those don't, I don't know. Or just the permanent wrinkle between my, I sometimes contemplate, but then I have to keep up with that, and I just want to embrace it. Or I'm like I'm feeling some of the aging stuff, and I want to embrace it and not have it be a problem I'm trying to solve. And I feel like that's what I'm wrestling with right now. And then I have 2 daughters that what example am I setting for that as well?
Yeah,
I'm probably from like a different perspective. Just so they make fun of me at work all the time because, like, I don't wear makeup. I haven't for years. And that's just not important to me. And they'll be like, oh, you can tell she gets Botox. And I'm like, how can you tell? Like, I have no idea, And they'll be like, she's had work done. And I'm like, what kind of work? What are you talking about? It's so, I am not interested really in appearance like that. Like, for myself, like, I'm not, I think, we talked about this, like, I think I dress well for my size. I think, I'm appropriate. I feel like I'm age appropriate. I don't feel like I'm trying to wear something that's, weird that I would be wearing it.
like it looks like you're going to a middle school dance.
Yeah.
Let's just keep referencing how Joey body shamed me when I was 20.
One more time.
But I think that my heart more lends itself to, I would just want to encourage people when it comes to body image, like there's so much wrapped up in that. Whereas if it's anti-aging or you're graying or the wrinkles or size or whatever it is, like I would just more want to say, be comfortable in your own skin and check your motives. Like, I think that's really like a lot of what you've been saying is like, what's your motive? Like, are you wanting to wear something to get someone else's attention to make you feel better about yourself? Or are you wearing this because it just feels good? Like, I think I look nice. Like, this is comfortable. I don't ever look in the mirror and think, home run. Like, that's just not how I'm wired up. So, but I find myself, the person who talks to me the most is me. So needing to get out of my head and be more gracious to myself. And I feel like if someone's thinner, I give them a lot more grace for what they're wearing than someone who's bigger. And that's something I would tell someone else too. Like, just don't be so hard on yourself.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I would say a lot of what you said, Pricilla, really resonated with me because, I'm going to pay to be blonde as long as I can afford it.
Same.
I just, however, I am seeing these beautiful, white situation happening here that my mother has. And I hope that is my future because it's just her hair is so beautiful.
There's something about white.
Oh,
I don't know why.
Stunning.
I want that.
Yes. Yes. So, but I'm the same. I have opted not to have any Botox or filler or anything, and have made the choice. Like, this is what God has given me, and I'm good with it. And it's probably going to get wrinkly and saggy and all the things, but I'm okay. Like, I'm good with that. Like, and I would also say I resonate with you. So like, I don't really necessarily think in the direction of. That's just not really where my focus is. Like, oh, I need, let's go get some Botox. Let's go get work done. Or I just don't think in that realm. But I would say, we get one carrier, we get one body that, to carry our soul in and, treat it well and try to honor the Lord with it. And I don't know, that would just sort of be my line of thinking. It's like, this is what God has given you, and use it to the best of your ability, whether that is your physical body, whether that's your mind, whether that's your gifts and talents, whatever it is. Like,
and it feels so much more peaceful to try to approach it that way instead of like,
how can I change this?
Yeah, to solving this problem.
Yes.
You know,
I've never thought of that anti-aging thing. That's wild.
It really hit me because I'm like, that feels terrible because we're so desensitized and used to hearing that and seeing it on all the shelves. And sometimes I will be, if I'm at, I sound so American, if I'm at Costco and I'm like, ooh, this is like, look at how much money this is. And then I'm like looking it up. And then I'm like in this world of anti-aging and reading reviews. And then I'm just like, I think I just need to get rest and drink water, which I already don't do enough of. I'm like, that is what is going to help me.
Yes.
Drink water and get more sleep.
Yes.
You know, instead of doing that.
Get outside.
Yeah. But I don't want to make him feel bad for doing, because I certainly have been very like, I have thought, I think it's interesting, the Botox thing. I mean, the girl that stitched up Waylon's lip, our kiddo, he's like, what did the doctor call him? Like a savage boy. Like he just says all this. He like chipped his tooth for the second time, split his lip open like crazy, had to get stitches. And we lucked out with the doctor that was in the emergency room that she's like passionate about plastics. And she told me she's my age, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older. I don't remember, but close to my age. And she looked amazing. And then as she's stitching Waylon up, she's like, oh, do you remember what she said? I don't know, maybe you were tired. In all the medical terms, everything she's done to her face.
Oh my.
And it was really tastefully done though. She didn't look fake at all. Like that's where I'm like, she looks amazing and she's passionate about it.
Yes.
So I'm like, if that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
Good for you.
Yeah,
yes, good
but
for
to
you.
me, I'm afraid I'll go into this, like it could become unhealthy for me, you know? To where I'm starting to be like, no matter what I do, I'm aging.
Right.
You know?
It's so funny because my oldest I had when I was 20. So, you know, you're going into kindergarten and she skipped grade. So that was kind of annoying. So then she's like really, you know, like these kids are like, their parents are like our age now. And I'm like, hi. And they made me feel really insecure anyway. You know what I mean? Just uncomfortable because, you know, I looked like a teenage mom, but I wasn't, but I looked like it. And so I was like, oh man, I just want to look a little bit older, just a little bit older. And I remember like my family grays early. And so I was like, I hope I gray early. I hope I gray earlier. And now that like underneath is where all my gray is. So I don't like to pull my hair back anymore. And everybody's like laughing, like, it's like really obvious you're gray. And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like thinking I can like part it a certain way. Yeah, I'm like, I don't see it that much. And everybody else is like, then you need a mirror. And I'm like, oh, is it that bad? But it's so funny how like when you're young, you want to age up. And then as you get older, you're like, let's reverse the clock. You know, we just need to be happy with where we are.
I know you're trying to end it, but did you see, it's like fun. It feels like a fun girl talk conversation. Did you guys see, what is her name? The girl that was 7. What is her name? The girl on Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
Did you see all the hate she got on social media? I like didn't know it came through, and they were just saying how terrible she's aging. She looks amazing. And then she kind of had this amazing way that she like called out every single journalist and everyone that was like kind of.
What, the powerful girl?
Yeah.
Did they not realize what she can do?
Oh, yeah.
My gosh, that's crazy.
I love your dad jokes.
That's crazy. Holy cow.
Well,
do you
like,
think that I'm distinguished looking?
You can just, you just get to, as you age, you're not like, I'm not like, joking, he's thanks. Like looking.
Thanks. I'm getting distinguished.
Yeah. Like you get to have little hairs in your ears and you're like, oh. One of the things that when we were talking, I have this, again, visual in the Barbie movie when she was sitting next to the lady and on the bench and she was like clearly in her 80s and she just looks at her and she said, "You're really beautiful." And she goes, "I know it."
Oh, I love that. I really do.
That
like
part
that
makes me cry every time.
Yep.
And I'm like,
yes.
There's a feeling that gives you. I just thought that was so powerful. I mean, as fun or whatever as a Barbie movie is, that part right there, I was like, that gets me every time.
That whole movie is so great. You know how I feel about it.
Yeah, but just like the aging part and And she doesn't even hesitate. Like, she's not, oh, no, I'm so old, or, oh, I'm like, she just knows it. That's what I want to feel like, you know?
Yeah.
No.
Well, all of y'all should feel that way.
Aw.
It's a good
That's
one.
right. Good one, Joey.
It would have been better had you not laughed hysterically after.
Let me do that over.
No, it's too late.
You've been watching Seacoast Church's Things You Won't Hear on Sunday podcast. You can now become a patron of this podcast and receive exclusive content. Your support goes towards Seacoast ministry efforts and local presence. Also, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast so that you get these episodes as soon as they're released. All of this information can be found in the show notes. Thanks for watching.